What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another amazing and impactful episode of the True Health Forever podcast, where we try to live our best life through the lens of holistic health. I'm your host, Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and as usual, I have with me the beautiful, the smiling, the galactic health nerd herself, coaching people to live their best life. Please introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka
The
Health Nerd, here joining you on a Sunday afternoon. The weather is a little iffy here. It's like overcast, but the sun is peeking through. I see it trying because I was talking about it earlier about how I don't like overcast without rain. It's like, why?
See, I feel like there's somebody who watches and listens just to hear what you say about the day.
It's possible.
I feel like there's that one person that is like, what's Sinclair going to say about the day? Ooh, what day is it? And you do it for them.
Just for you. Just for you, Grandy.
Oh, goodness. No. Hey, Grandy's like, yeah. But as y'all probably know, if this isn't your first episode, if it is your first episode, hey, welcome to Th4. Like, subscribe. We appreciate you. If it isn't, then you know for sure that the queen is the health nerd, and I am the Black history nerd / Black book nerd. Right.
Yes.
And I'll claim that. I love that. I'll walk in my nerdiness nowadays. But I think we're gonna bring someone on who might out nerd me when it comes to Black books. Yeah, I think he's gonna take it, and I'm here to soak up all the game. I'm here to soak up all the wisdom. But we got the founder of the Black Book Club today joining us. We're gonna talk about building libraries. We're gonna talk about literacy within the Black community, and we're gonna talk about some powerful Black authors. Queen, are you ready?
Are you ready for some Black Book Club? I need to work on these intros.
You please, because
I try to go off
the potential. No. We know you don't freestyle. The potential is there, and then I see the light in your eye. Literally go out like, no, that's not it. that's not.
Are you ready for some book club?
There we go. There
we go.
Well, without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, we're out. All right, let's go ahead and bring him in. There goes the king right there, brother Theee. Welcome. How you living?
For having me on. How y'all doing?
You know, blessed over here. Got some food in the queen's stomach, so I'm not in trouble.
Oh yeah, that means you're safe. You're safe for right now.
You good for a couple hours.
A couple hours. That's all I got. Right? How about you over there? I know you celebrating some life over there.
Yeah, we're celebrating my aunt's 80th birthday today.
Yes.
We are
love that. We
all getting together to drive by and say happy birthday.
Love it. And I know that warms her heart, right?
Yeah.
Just seeing the family come by, give that energy, what warms the heart. But we did a slight intro, but in your own magnificent words, if you don't mind introducing yourself and what the Black Book Club is.
Okay, definitely. So I'm Theee Jennings. I started the Black Book Club about 2 years ago. And the purpose of the Black Book Club is because, if you look at statistics, it says that between the age of about 16 to 25, 26, and actually in Black men, it's actually 16 to about 27, we kind of fall out of love for literature. So what that means is our reading levels decrease dramatically. And I think the reason for that is because we're given books in high school. You look at 16, you're looking at about 10th, 11th grade. We're being given books by school that do not speak to our true interests, that do not speak to our character. So we don't identify with these books. I know in my instance, my mother was a vigorous reader, right? She reads 2 and 3 books at one time. My brother's always been a reader. Then when I got to the 10th grade and I was given, I'll never forget, it was Of Mice and Men. And I was told that this is one of the greatest books ever. This is a classic book and all these other things. And I didn't identify with it. I struggled reading it. It didn't speak to me at all. And then I started, then I got another book, like a Shakespeare book. Same thing. It didn't speak to me. Then you tell me Shakespeare is one of the 5 best writers ever. And then I'm saying, well, that must mean that I don't love literature, right? That must mean I don't like reading. So then for 9 years of my life, I went through life just not being a reader, right? And so then when I got 25, 26 years old, I started to discover James Baldwin books and more Toni Morrison books besides the ones that my mom was reading. And so then I realized I do like reading. I didn't like reading what they were giving me. So, we put the Black Book Club together, me and my wife, to decrease that time span, to decrease that's 9, 10 years where we could be reading, educating ourselves, strategizing, connecting with other people, learning. That's 10 years of learning that's just gone, right? And so now I'm running double time trying to catch up to that. So we put the Black Book Club together to decrease that amount of time that we lose. So we want to show our age range and younger that reading is cool. So we always try to incorporate a lot of current culture, a lot of things that I think before kind of the word nerd, we would kind of shy away from, especially as Black men. And then we become 26 years old, we start to embrace that. Hey, I'm a nerd, so we want to try to take a lot of that shame away from the word nerd and some of that shame away from reading. We enjoy reading. There's revolutionary books. There's so many books out there that you can identify with. Whenever I do a vending event and somebody comes up and says, well, I don't read that much. Once I ask about 3 or 4 questions, I hand them a book. They're like, oh, this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So it's not that you don't read that much. You're not being given books that truly interest you.
Right. And so I want to talk about this, and this is off the riff, right? But I feel like growing up, I felt the exact same way, middle school to high school. I was just like, I don't read. I don't like to read. I'm not going to read these books.
You said that when I met you.
Yeah, literally when we met, I was like, nah, I don't read. And like we would read in the dorm room. I would fall asleep, and I was like, it's not my bag. But now it's like I love to read what I want to read, what's interesting to me. So I'm wondering, in education, do you feel either it's on purpose, or how can we shift it to where our melanated scholars can read something that they're actually interested in, and not read something that is going to say the N-word in it 3 or 4 times, right? And it's almost creating a trauma between reading, because every time we read in class, all these books have the N-word in it, or the Black character is a low level character, and it's like I'm living this trauma every single time we read in class. So now I don't like to read because I associate negative things with reading.
Definitely. I think it's a mix of both, right? I think that, I don't put anything past the education system, so I'm not going to say it's not on purpose, right? So I think that we're being given an altered reality. So if you're given books that always, like you said, speak to the Black character being either less intelligent or violent, it's just like movies. The first time you hear a rap song is when they show that jail scene. Or the only time you see the Black characters when they're on the corner drinking a beer. That forces you to identify with something that you don't truly identify with, right? So then, especially in our people's minds, it makes us have to formulate an opinion on ourselves that is lesser than what we truly are, right? So that makes us want to join in on what the popular phrase is, or popular culture. So if you show us books that just keep showing our intelligence on a lower level, and these authors are very, very talented at doing that, at displaying ourselves as being less intelligent, right? So then also what I say is intentional is that the books that I sell, a lot of them are banned, right?
Wow.
And the reason why a lot of them are banned, and you see books like James Baldwin books are banned, Toni Morrison books are banned. Right. And you're like, well, like the Son of Solomon is banned from school. You can't, if you give your child a Son of Solomon book, a Song of Solomon book, and they do a book report on it, they'll probably get a 0, guaranteed 0. And they'll say the reason for that is because the book speaks to the racial inequalities that we go through as people. But you're saying, like, how is that banned when all it does is speak to the truth, right? Because we're given a truth that is shattered. So if you if you speak to radical books, and not even radical books, really just any books, if you
Right.
speak to Black books, they will say, no, we're not letting them in there. And they call any Black book a radical book. You know, they'll call James Baldwin, If Beale Street Could Talk, as a radical book, which it is not. It's a book about love.
Right.
But when you're
Black love
dealing
is
with
radical, though, Tyree. Black love is radical.
Black love is very radical. When you're dealing in a system that perpetuates us in a cycle that is lesser, anything is radical, right? Black love is radical. You know, Black friendship is radical. So when you talk about Toni Morrison book, The Bluest Eye, Black confidence is radical. The bluest eye speaks to being confident in who you are. So these are all things that we're put into a system that these books fight against. Right. So against the system, you can't depend on the system to give that to you. You can't depend on the system to push that in front of you.
Facts. And if you're listening, first off, welcome again. This is Tyree from the Black Book Club. Make sure y'all go follow. But you may be wondering, like, what does book club have to do with holistic health, right? And what this has to do is when you're able to read and learn about who you are, right? We literally just talked about that Black confidence is radical. We need to be able to build that confidence, and sometimes you can get it in the characters that you're able to connect with in movies, in comic books, or in regular books. Same thing with health, right? We talk about how the healthcare system has information that they're not necessarily trying to give you. You need to get that information from books, right? So books are an amazing resource to be able to tap in and learn not only about yourself, but also about some of the outside world too. But I want to zoom in a little bit, all right? Because we did a little bit of research, and we saw that on an IG post, you said that starting the Black Book Club came out as I think it was a failed YouTube search or some type of failed search online, and then you were like, you know what, let's build it. So can you tell that story on how you got that motivation?
Definitely. So we went, like everybody else in the world, we went to go see Black Panther in the theaters, and loved the book, Wakanda Forever, right? So me and my wife, we took the kids and we went to go see the movie, and so the next morning, I was just like 5 a.m. I'm on YouTube I was searching for the song that was singing before the club fight scene. For some reason, I don't jog, but I decided I was going to jog that day to that song. So I searched on YouTube for it, and when I put in The African, it auto completed African Library Project. So I started looking at it, and I started looking at the African Library Project, and it says, if you can collect 1,500 books and send, I forgot the monetary amount, then we can build a library in Africa. So, I waited about 5 to 6 hours for my wife to wake up. She wakes up a little later than I do. So, so when she woke up, the first thing I said was, hey, let's build a library in Africa. And, all props and respect to her. She didn't bat an eye. She didn't say, you're crazy. She's like, let's do it, So then we started to put together a plan. And I had never run a not-for-profit. I'd never done a book drive. Like, if you go back to my college and said, Tyree's doing a book drive, a lot of people look at you crazy. And so I announced the book drive, and the same people that I thought would look at me crazy or say, Tyree, this sounds like some off-the-wall stuff you're doing. They were the ones that reach out and say, I'm sending you a box of books. I'm sending you 2 boxes of books. So it really hit me like, wow, people really are trusting me to put this together. Nobody asked me for, even though I had all the information, nobody asked me to explain everything. They just said, hey, we support. And so it really took me back. And so I started to collect books, and, we put together about 1,500 books, sent it over to Africa, and they built a library in Sierra Leone. And so we saw the pictures of the library, and we saw some of the Black babies picking the books up that I know I put in a box for them, right? And I know my children pack the boxes to send books to children. So it really touched me. Like it moved me a lot. And so after you come off that high from collecting books for 6 months and then sending them over to Africa, I said, hey, I want to do something here local. I want to do something in the States. And so, me and my wife started putting together plans to do things here locally. And so what we're doing is we do free public library boxes. And so we just, put a box in the neighborhood, right? So you put the box in the neighborhood, and then you just fill it up with books that we need. So you fill
So,
it up with the James Baldwin, you fill it up with, a Robert F. Williams book, and then you also come back after that. You fill it up with books on how to grow food, right? You
Mm.
fill it up with books on how to be an electrician. So you make it a really community meeting spot. And so now, if I live up the street from you, I come and I grab this plumbing book, right? You come, you grab this electrical book. Now, then my wife, she grabs this gardening book. So now we meet again and you say, hey, I'm having this issue with my toilet. I'm gonna have to call this plumber. It's gonna cost $500. I'm like, well, no, I just finished studying about that. Let me see if I can do something. Hey,
yeah.
I got a problem with my light. You're reading an electrician book. Hey, let's put this garden in our neighborhood. My wife's reading this garden book. So you can
Mm.
really grow everything from that community library.
Having the knowledge in the first place is like step zero, is a prerequisite. So I feel like, literacy is how literacy, reading, that's how we gain the knowledge so that we can go apply it in our different communities. Like you
Mm.
mentioned, okay, I'm an electrician, I can help my community now. I'm a health coach, I'm a healer, I can now help heal folks.
Yeah.
To whereas if we don't know the information and we're always having to outsource, then we're trusting that other people have our best interests on mind, which history has shown that it's not true, for at least for our communities. So
Right.
that's why I think it's important for us to have the knowledge in our own community so that we can use it for our own good.
Facts. I 100% agree. The next question that's coming up, and we can ask this to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and then hopefully you're able to hear us over there on this side. And anyone else who's listening, feel free to answer this question like internally, answer inside the chat if you're watching live. But why is literacy important specifically within the Black community? And I think you were tiptoeing.
Mm-hmm.
You were tiptoeing right there. So maybe you can re-answer it. But when we think about literacy, financial literacy, health literacy, and any type of other, just regular, just how to read, why is that important for the Black community or communities of color?
Because I think you need to have the knowledge within the community,
Mm.
because history has shown that if the knowledge is not within community, we now have to rely on others
Mm.
for our own good, to learn the knowledge, to gain what we need for health, for survival, whatever it is. And yeah, it's just been shown historically that that doesn't always work out for us, right?
Right.
Is that, when we're talking about health, most of the research was done on straight white men.
Mm.
So automatically we're outsourcing, our health to folks who you utilize, right? It's because built into the system, utilize research that was not even done on us for us.
Right.
Whereas if we are able to gain that knowledge, do our own research, for ourselves, by ourselves, then and when I say by ourselves, I feel like the communities of color, we all have that kind of in common.
Mhm.
So I think that's where we can collaborate in that sense.
Mm.
But I think that's why it's important to have the knowledge, at least within the community, that we also have the doctors, we also have the lawyers, we also have the plumbers, the electricians, the healers, the health coaches. Like, we have all of that within the community, so that we don't have to we don't have to outsource that. We can heal ourselves. We can do all of that ourselves.
I feel like it's also important. I wholeheartedly agree with you, my queen. I think it's also important because knowledge, in my opinion, isn't, I don't know if absolute's the right word, but it's like you can have a fact, and that fact could be used for good, and that fact could be used for not good, right? And I feel like if we're relying on other people that have this knowledge of facts, we're not able to put in our context, our experience, and our personal, what we want to get out of this to our best benefit. And we're basically relying on other people to have our best benefit. So yeah, that's why I feel like you just need to have, at least I believe in having a high level of information in a lot of different things to where I'm able to ask questions.
That's an important skill.
Right. That's gonna be able to ask questions. Like, are you sure that's what it's supposed to do?
Right.
And then they say, no. I'm not absolutely sure. I'm like, okay, I'm just asking the questions. I don't know the answer to it, but I'm able to ask. Okay. And we can keep on, I guess, going back and forth. We'll see if the internet is willing to stop blocking Tyree's greatness. I see him moving in the background. Let me try to. There we go. Are you back?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Let's
can.
get
Okay,
it.
here we go.
They're not rocking with you. I knew this was gonna be a good one too. The internet's not rocking with. It's okay. We're gonna keep on going. The next question that I'm gonna throw over there, right? And feel free if you want to answer the last one, you can still answer the last one. But it's around favorite books. Right? Favorite books, most impactful books that you have read. So brother Tyree, have that in the back again. You have the one, but feel free to answer the second one as well. Queen, and I can go first this time actually. So why you looking at me like that?
I'm smiling at you, bro.
You can keep smiling. There it is. Love to see it. So Powernomics is the first one that's coming to my head.
You reference that one a lot.
I do reference it a lot. I think it has a lot of great moving parts as a sociologist by trade as well. I never said that before.
No.
But as someone who studies sociology, I feel like you can see a lot of different aspects of sociology in Powernomics. And for those who haven't gotten it yet, definitely pick it up. If you're into building a Black ecosystem, and if you're into just like the vibe of what Black Wall Street has and represents, you're going to love Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. They go to the 12 empowerment steps. I love the concept of empowerment culture inside of that book, and where he's saying that we need to make financial literacy, investing, just literally like supporting our own businesses a part of our culture. Not necessarily a reaction, but this is what we do, right? Just like now, I think everyone wears a chain. Literally, I feel like if you look around, everybody has a chain, whether it's Black, white, Mexican, everybody wears a chain because it's a part of the culture. How can we make investing in stocks a part of the culture? How can we make owning your own house a part of the culture, owning your own business part of the culture, to where it's just like everybody does it? Yeah. And that's what they talk about in the book. Gotcha. That's probably one. What's another one? Kindred. Kindred was a good one by Octavia Butler. And that's about someone in the future. I'm forgetting the year that she was set in, but she's from the quote unquote future, and she comes back in time to live during slavery. So it's like, that was an interesting thing, because like you experience freedom, and you know what freedom is, but now you're in an environment to where you are no longer free. And it's interesting to see how she moves and how she grapples with the new identity of being a slave, where all the other Black people is like, no, this is it. Like, this is what we do. And she's like, no, this is not it. Like, we're free. So yeah, that was a really good book. And I imagined it as I was reading it. Queen, did I give you enough time?
I was good from the jump. I just let you go first. Yeah.
So do you think, Queen?
So for me, in terms of when I think of favorite books, I think of like most impactful, which for sure for me is Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. That was just a really impactful book that, like, I think for me had a noticeable like shift in my, like, I know I had a noticeable shift in the way I moved, the way I thought after reading that book. And I feel like it's the power of like exposure. Right, it can. Eesh.
That was y'all might have heard that
on the mic. If y'all heard that, that was this man cracking his neck.
That was a bad
one. But yeah, I think that like when we talk about exposure, like exposure doesn't always have to mean like I've met you in person and you're now telling me. Like it can be in a book. It can be in a podcast.
Yeah, I see you.
Right, that's still exposure, because you're still reading, or you're still consuming information that you haven't before. So I think reading that book and going through, if you don't know what that book is, it's basically a whole bunch of different stories about how Black folks have overcome adversity and just become very successful, despite the odds that were always stacked against them. So it's in the very simple terms, it's a whole bunch of historical like rags to riches type stories, but just very inspirational. I'm like, wow, like if you think about, like, we're in such a good a special time right now where, and I want to choose these words wisely, it's still not the easiest. I don't want to say it's easy, but I think starting a business now as a Black entrepreneur is easier than it's ever been before in history.
As a history person, still arguable, only because in Jim Crow segregation, all Black customers had to support Black businesses.
True.
Whereas like today, yes, it's easier than ever to start 100%. But is it easier than ever to grow and scale and get that automatic patronage? Not quite. But I do vibe with
where I'm coming from.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, I think being an entrepreneur in today's world, like reading stories about how folks were able to do that way back when is very humbling but also inspirational. I'm like, well, shoot, if they were able to do it then, you know, I can do it today, because right now it's, well, let me go online and do an LLC document real quick, you know. Or it's just the process of actually getting started is a lot easier. But yeah, it's just a very inspirational book to see. And again, it's written for us by us. So and it is a version of the Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But yeah, it's I think because they are Black stories, you resonate with them and you understand the struggles that they go through in their journey, because in some way, shape, or form, we're still dealing with the same struggles. They're just in different forms now. So yeah, that's been probably one of my favorite books.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a classic right there. So we hopped on books, brother Tyree. Let's see if the internet's gonna try to stop you again. We're gonna keep on trying, but I'm gonna pass the mic.
I should be good now.
Okay.
I've been promised a good spot, right?
All right.
Oh yeah, you're clear.
You're crisp.
You're right, crispy. So I don't know if you want to kind of backtrack a little bit. And you were talking about the importance of literacy and the building the public boxes and just the power that has.
Yeah. So you know, we talk about free public library boxes, and the reason that we need them in our communities is because, like I said, I'm a nerd. I look into how libraries are placed on a citywide level, right? So if you look at the fact that, take the city that I live in, Huntsville, the more prominent area would be a city called Madison. Now, Madison and Huntsville are right next to each other. Like literally, you can live in Madison on one side of the street, Huntsville on another side of the south, right? Now, Madison they've had three public libraries built. There are two buildings right now. One is completely empty, and the next one is right next door to it, which is a library, the complete glass building, computers, beautiful Wi-Fi signal, everything. Now they're making people in Huntsville contribute to their own library, right? So people of Huntsville who are statistically a little lower on the pay scale are being told that if you can't donate to this library, you're not getting one, right? Wow. So now we're put away from. So now we're put in a position where, you know, we're just like we're put in food deserts, right? We're put in what we call literacy deserts, where our children are 5 to 10 miles away from a public library. Now that affects everything. But then you look at late fees. So if our babies can't pay the late fees, they're not gonna go to that library anyway, no matter if it's next to them or not. Now, if I put a public library right where that child lives, right? I put it right across the street from that child's door. That child's natural curiosity and thirst for knowledge will push them towards that free library box every time. You know, every time I put one there, you can take the toughest people in the neighborhood, right? We have a free public library in North Huntsville, which I always say statistics lie. But if we go by the numbers, it is one of the most violent areas in Huntsville. We have a free public garden there. So I put the library there, and the toughest people in that neighborhood will come to me and they'll ask for books. Hey, Tyree, somebody had that James Baldwin book. They've had it for like 2 months, man. Can you give me another one? You know, these are 16-year-olds that have been kicked out of school, that have been told they won't be nothing. And they're coming to me and saying, hey, can I get that Malcolm X book? Hey, next time you come, okay, I'll put that Martin Luther King book back. I finished it last week. See if you can get me a Bayard Rustin book. Now, these are books that these are people that these children are not being identified with until they're out of school, right? Some of them are 17, out of high school. They're working, they're trying to contribute to their households already. And they're coming to me and saying, hey, Tyree, look, man, I need that Bayard Rustin book. Or they're like 2 days ago, I had two people having an argument about,
Over
like
a
a
book?
full out debate. I come up to the guard and they're debating, and to the outside eye, it's like they're having a fight, right? Because we're animated, we're moving our arms around, we're yelling. I come up, I said, we're
James
passionate.
Baldwin is the best author I've ever seen. What are you talking
And
about?
I come up, I'm like, what's going on? He's like, man, tell this dude about James Baldwin and Richard Wright not liking each other. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you told me about how they had beef with each other, and I was telling him, and it really shocked me, because not that I had any doubt about our natural intelligence, it's that they're just gravitating towards it, right? They're just saying, hey, we were not given this knowledge when we were in high school, and these are two 20-year-old men. We weren't given this information in high school, and some of them weren't given that in college. And the fact that you speak to it made us interested. Or they'll come and say, hey, Tyree, why don't you have a book by this author? I'm like, oh, wow. A couple months ago, you were saying that you read at a 6th grade level. Now you're saying, hey, you need to extend your library, which I love. Like, let's do it, right? So, the books can really it changed my life, and I know it can change everybody's life. We just have to identify them with a book that interests them, and then they will naturally just keep reading, and they can read anything. I think another thing that people get confused about is that, oh, I only read nonfiction books, or I don't read any graphic novel comic books, so I'm smarter than somebody that does. And it really isn't like that, right? Because we're all talented and special in our own fields. So if I can get you a book that identifies with you, whether it's a Malcolm X book, or it's a Lawrence Taylor book, or it's a Charles Barkley book, you identify with it, you can read it, you can gain something from it, you can gain insight from that. So any book, I push any book to people, whatever will make you have to pick it up. I don't want to give you a book that I like and I tell you to like it. I want to give you a book that you really do like, and a subject matter that you really do like. And then naturally you're going to pick it up, you're going to read it. You know what I mean? I've given books to my niece, every one of my nieces. My niece Skylar's walking up here. I've given her books.
Hey, Skylar.
And it's just spreading that Black literature out, giving books to young black girls that show them in positive lights, that show them as ballerinas, that show them Shirley Chisholm, show them the Hidden Four, right? So they see that and they start to demand more from themselves. If you see yourself in a different light, you demand more of yourself. I think that's the reason why we're only told that our history starts with slavery, right? If I can tell you that you're just born from slavery, I don't want to minimize slavery at all. But if I tell you that you were born from slavery, and then I show you a picture of Africa as this downtrodden, poor country, right? Mentally, you're going to start to appreciate being in the States. So now you're appreciating slavery. You're appreciating abuse that your ancestors went through. And it's the same with books, right? If the only time you see somebody that looks like you is when they show a jail scene, as a young Black man, I thought it was kind of understood that I would end up going to jail, right? So I lived my life with that thought. But then when I started to expand my horizon and realize that we're not all in jail, and it sounds so simple, but it really is a life-changing conclusion that you come to. Right. And then you start to demand more from yourself, and then nothing can stop you at that point.
Look, literacy is power. Knowledge is power, like the Queen was saying. Do you have something before I go on a riff?
I was just gonna say I really like once you kind of see yourself in that light, you demand more from yourself. I like that's where we were talking about earlier, why I like Think and Grow Rich, the Black Choice, so much, because I felt like I saw that and I was able to see myself in each of those stories. So now I was like, well, I don't have to only, work for a company. Shoot, I can do my own thing. Like, yes, and once that like unlocks in your brain, like there's no putting that back. Like, you can't stop it. It's unstoppable now.
Yeah, it can't go back. Like, once that light goes on, you just won't turn it off, just because you look back at all the years that the light wasn't on, and you're like, man, I was missing that. My life was looking for that. And so once it comes on, there's no turning back.
Yeah. So I want to know, is there a way for people to help what you're doing, either in a in a formal capacity or an informal capacity? Like if people are watching, they're listening, they're like, "Dang, we like the vibe. We want to tap into the power." Well, what are some things that they can do to help increase the Black Book Club, or to build more public libraries, whatever it is that you feel you need and be useful?
Well, one thing I like to tell people, if first any book that you buy from the Black Book Club goes to, building more libraries. But when I
Mm,
tell people is, if you want to help, the best thing you can do is build a library in your community, right?
mm,
The best thing you can do is get a couple pieces of wood. I'm not a carpenter at all, right? Get a couple pieces of wood. The first free public library was on, the wooden parts that you have for your mailbox. We
mm-hmm,
put two of those together, build a box, put it right there, put a little handle make a door, and put it right there, right? It doesn't have to be fancy at all. There are fancy ones which are beautiful, they look great, but the information in them is what's most important.
mm,
What I tell people is the best thing to help the Black Book Club is to push it forward, is to make a free public library in your neighborhood. Or get in touch with me and I'll send you some books to help you with that free public library. We want them in Crenshaw, California. We want them in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm from Gary, Indiana. We put one in Evansville, Indiana. We put one in the part of Evansville is one of the most violent parts of Evansville, right?
mm,
And we put the library right there. And we want the libraries to be where we are, right? Because I'm putting books in there for our children, right?
mm,
Our children, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers and fathers. So we want them right where they are. I have one in my front yard, right?
mm,
And kids from the neighborhood will come by. I used to hand out bookmarks all the time. And so I give a couple bookmarks out and they say like positive affirmations, aim for the sky, you are greatness, things like that. And at first they would look at me weird, like, who's this weird man coming out here handing me a bookmark, right? And then so I received that sometimes. I'm like, oh man, this is looking kind of weird. But then 2 weeks later, that same kid comes up and he's got his sister with him. That's the guy that gave me the bookmark. And his sister, can I have a bookmark? Can I have a sticker? And then all of a sudden he comes back in a month and he's, look at my grades. Look at my grades, Mr. Jennings.
Aw.
We built a connection there. And it's just because I've given them a bookmark that lets them know I believe in them, right?
mm,
A lot of our Black babies just have to know that people believe in them and to believe in themselves. So, the libraries build connections. Kids
mm.
come over, they're not even looking for me. I'm outside waving. I'm trying to talk to them. They're like, we're just looking for the books. We're not really going to talk
Give
to
me
you.
the book,
What
bro.
a book
Watch
say.
out, Mr. Jennings. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Here you go.
Yeah.
And I love it because that's going to change their life. All it takes is one book that's going to change people's lives. For me, it was the book Monster by Cody Scott. I saw my brother reading it, and my brother's my hero, right? He's 3 years older than me. He's the coolest guy I know. And so he's reading Monster. He's like in the 8th grade at the time. And I just remember staring at him because he wasn't watching wrestling on Monday night, right? I'm like, what are you doing that taking you away from this Undertaker match? And he's like, this book right here is crazy. And so just seeing him do that made me go get that book, right? And just it forced me to read that book because I want to read what my brothers read. And then so I got the information and I saw how somebody can change their life. So that ended up changing my life, right? And I understand that everybody doesn't have an older brother, a cool older brother that's a nerd too, that likes being a nerd, right? That doesn't have a mom that preaches reading. So I want to be able to put that same environment in everybody's household. They don't know.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So I want to ask a book question. Put you possibly on the spot. But
Okay.
if you can give book recommendations for 3 categories, all right.
Okay.
First category, obviously we had Th4, so anything that has to do with health, holistic health, and that vibe. Something to do with finances or wealth, business, right? Something in that vibe, and then give me like that sci-fi fantasy. I'm full-fledged nerd, right? I'm in my nerd bag, right? I feel like with those 3, we're gonna capture at least somebody in every one, and you're gonna capture me in every single in all of them.
As far as science fiction, I always point people to Octavia Butler with Kindred. You know, Kindred is a book that any Black nerd will read, and it will instantly captivate them, right? And it will instantly open them up. It opened me up to another world where there's so many Black nerds out here, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you read that, and I read it in like a week. I couldn't stop reading it. I read it so fast that my 11-year-old started reading it too, just because, you know, he's interested in it, right? A finance book that I read recently, it's called Financially Irresponsible by Rakeem Sabri. And the reason why that book spoke to me is because he's a finance guy, but he speaks about the Black trauma that goes into our financial decisions, right? So when you're told that you don't own anything, when you're told that you'll never own anything, you start to internalize that. And then now the only thing you feel that you own are your clothes or your car, your shoes, right? So when you have, you're put into a certain system that you're told that you don't own anything, outside forces start to have a bigger impact on you than maybe they should, right? So now you want to have that new chain so you can show off to everybody else in your neighborhood, because you're told that neighborhood is where you're going to live and die at, right? You're told you don't have upward mobility. So when people say, why are you buying shoes? You should buy a house. Because mentally I'm told I'm not going to buy a house. Mentally I'm told I'm never leaving this neighborhood. So why am I saving for a house? I'm told I'm going to die when I'm 25. So why am I saving to be 30, 35, 40 years old? And that's what's going on in a lot of our minds, where we're spending our last money to get a new car that we're parking in front of an apartment. And the reason for that is not because we're dumb or that we don't know certain information. Of course, we don't know all the information, but a lot of it comes from just our self-confidence. And he speaks to that, about how to break that, you know, generational trauma of money. A lot of times we're afraid of money, right? Because we're told it's being held away from us for so long. The second we get $1, we want to spend it because we haven't been able to spend $1 in a week, right? So we have to change the way we look at the dollar and the way that we look at freedom and financial literacy and financial freedom. And he speaks to that, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed reading that. And then
that's powerful. And I think, well, not to cut you off, King, but one more thing on there is, historically, we also haven't been in a position to be able to trust the bank, because we'll put money into the bank for generations, and then we'll just lose all of our money in a crash or in the stock market or something. And then for some reason, Black dollars aren't insured while other dollars are insured, right? So there's been times where it's like, maybe the mattress is safer than the bank. I think we're hopefully a little bit over that hump with technology and blockchains, where you can get more proof and receipts. But I think a lot of it does come from our ancestors, our people before us, that trusted the system and literally lost everything in that system.
Yeah, like you know, you look at like Freedman's Bank, right? And all the money that our ancestors lost, right? And that trauma and that fear, it's been proven that changes your DNA, right? Fear and trauma changes your DNA. So when you look at the fact that your uncle, like my uncle, doesn't trust banks, right? He wasn't old enough to be around with the Freedman's Bank, but he knows about it. So he keeps his money in a mattress, right? My dad still has a money clip to this day. My dad will cash his whole check, right? And I'm like, Dad, what? You're not gonna put that in the bank? Hell no, I don't trust banks. Now my dad was in the military, right? She's like, damn, how is you don't trust the bank? He's like, bank's bullshit. And the reason for that is, like you said, so many crashes only affect us, or affect us much worse. And all of a sudden, our dollars aren't insured. All of a sudden, our houses fail inspection. So now, right? I mean, we have a history of being lied to. So a lot of that comes from, like you said, that trauma.
Big facts. All right, but that third book so far, sci-fi, we got Kindred. Number 2, finances, we got Financially Irresponsible, which I already added to my cart. Or maybe no, actually, I'm gonna go to your site. Are all these on your site?
Actually, the Financially Irresponsible is not. I will be interviewing Rakeem really soon. It'll be on the site soon.
Okay,
but yeah,
I'll wait for it then.
Okay, yeah.
And then number 3, sci-fi full nerd talk to me.
No,
Oh no, that was or
health.
health. My bad. I wanted another sci-fi one. All right, health.
Health. It's a couple of books. Know the Body, by I can't remember his name. Dr. Supreme Understanding is a really good one. I like to read the book. The Dr. Sebi book. I read that. I know a lot of people debate about Dr. Sebi. I read the book. People debate about everything, but I read. Know Thyself. Heal the Body is another. Heal Thy Body is another great book by Dr. Afua.
Queen Afua.
Queen Afua, yep.
Yeah.
So she has one, and her son has another one called Men Heal Thyself.
Cool. You got all those mentally written down?
I have. Oh no, I think I have her Sacred Woman. I have one of her books in my.
My wife. She was reading Sacred Woman. My wife. She's a nerd as well, and so she's reading Sacred Woman. I'm like, what is that? And I'm looking over her shoulder. She's like, this has nothing for you in it.
Nothing.
You are interested, so I want to see. I'm nosy. I'm like, I want to see what it is. It's a book.
Yeah.
She's like, her son wrote a book too, which was her nice way of saying, leave me alone and go get this book and get out of my face. So I started reading that, and these books, they speak to us, right? Because they're coming from where we come from. So when you read a book that speaks about the Freedmen's Bank, that speaks about Black trauma and the way that a lot of us escape that trauma in a corporate world, corporate setting. A lot of times we're abusing our body to escape that trauma of work, and then we're abusing our body at home, and so we're stuck in a cycle, right? We're stuck in a perpetual cycle of get abused at work, come home, drink 10 beers, abuse the people around us, go to sleep, get involved into it again. And we have to find a way we can break that cycle. Our generation, mine and your generation, I think we're one of the first ones to see a lot of the trauma and the pain from quote unquote corporate America, right? Our parents were some of the first ones. Like our parents were affirmative action recipients, right? So I think a lot of times, like my dad was wholeheartedly into thinking that corporate America was the way of upward mobility, right? So he adheres to that thinking. So the traumas he went through it, right? Because he was one of the first Black drill sergeants in his area for the military. So he comes home and he's dealing with racism all day long. He's mad. He doesn't feel like he's being listened to at work. So what does he do? He talks louder to us, or he demands more respect from us because we're filling his confidence bag up, right? So then now I'm of age where I can understand that, and I can see how that affects children. So we're able in our generation to either shy away from corporate America completely, or we're able to at least draw a line and say, okay, this does not work from corporate America. So this is what I will not bring into my home from corporate America. Or we build things, we work corporate America 9 to 5, and we build on our stuff 6 to 10, right? So we're trying to find that balance. I think a lot of times our generation is trying to find that balance to where we can raise our children in a more health conscious way, right? We can be more positive and we can be more healing, so our children don't have to recover from things that they grew up with.
Man, that was heavy. I really, and I don't like it. I like the point. I don't like the reality, but the point of saying we're dealing with stress, we're dealing with trauma in our workplace, and then we're bringing that home with us, and we're reacting in a certain way to compensate for the disrespect, the racism, discrimination, lack of opportunities, all of that in the workplace. And that's
just normalized,
right?
Right?
That's normalized for sure.
That's something that I have realized too, is like, now that me and my brother we're 2 years apart, but we're both like in our first couple years of the corporate world. So we'll go back and, now we're able to kind of talk to our parents about like, oh yeah, we're all dealing with the same thing. Right. But the response that I always get from my parents' side is like, yeah, that's corporate. Like kind of like, welcome to the corporate. And it's just like, dang, that's sad that's like, we're not even saying like, oh man, we should change this. It's just like, that's it's normal. It's like that. Welcome to the world. It's saddening.
Right, but
it's so saddening.
Yeah.
And my hope is that I think we're a part of the generation that's disrupting that, that's asking those questions like, does this have to be normal though? Do we can have the side gigs, we can do these other things. And I'm hoping that the next generation after this completely breaks that cycle, and they're not willing to accept it. And even better yet, they're wanting to build other things outside of it, so they don't even need to accept it. Which leads me into Black Wall Street, the board game.
Love it. Yes.
Right? You like how I did that?
Yes.
Right. Little subtle transition. But we've talked about 100% non-debatable that books and literacy is power. Can we also talk about how experiences, and possibly your experience with Black Wall Street, the board game, how that can also be powerful, and you can learn some stuff through gaming?
Definitely. I came across the Black Wall Street. Me and you were on a panel about from One World Africa, and so I heard you speaking about the Black Wall Street game, and I remember thinking it's funny because the universe works. The universe works how it's going to work, right?
Yep.
During that time, I was trying to teach my sons about banking because, of course, they had the pandemics. They were home, and I was laid off, so I became like this quote unquote teacher, right? So we're going through talking about deposits, talking about liabilities, stocks, stuff like that. Then all of a sudden this game comes. I'm like, wow, I have to get this game because this speaks exactly to what we were talking about. And, my son, one's 11, one's 6. And so when I showed them the Black Wall Street game, of course, it's a game. So they're like, yeah, let's play it right now. So we start playing it. And, the first time we played, they didn't understand it. And then the next time they kind of started understanding a little more. And then all of a sudden they're coming into my room and saying, hey, Dad, give me the Black Wall Street game. I'm about to play my brother. Right. So then I go in there and I'm watching them play. And my 6-year-old is just yelling, I need more LLC, or this is a corporation. You owe me money. And it's amazing because he really understands like an LLC. He understands what a sole proprietorship is, right? He's like, I only owe you $16 because this is an SP. You got to get another one for it to be an LLC. You owe me $100. And he really understands it. And then I say, hey, son, the Black Book Club is an LLC. And his mind completely understands what I'm talking about. He's like, oh, well, then you need another one to make it a corporation. And I'm amazed because, like I said, he's 6 years old, right?
Love it.
My 11-year-old, before we would say, what do you want to do for a living? And he was like, I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman, whatever. Now he's like, I want to own my own business. And I want it to be this. And I want it to be that. And it's completely because of the Black Wall Street game. And then I'm able to show them, hey, Black Wall Street is a real place. Look at this. Look at Greenwood. Look at all these people that look just like you. And my 6-year-old, I think he's the radical. I believe my 6-year-old,
that one,
he plays no games at all, right? But he pulls up and he's like, look at all the Black people here. That's immediately what he says, because now he understands the strength that he comes from, and he understands the ingenuity and the creativity that he comes from. And the Black Wall Street game really helped for him to understand that, for him to say, people that look like me built all of this, right? And my wife, she's an artist, she's a painter, so he's able to say, look, my mom is building a company from the ground. My dad's building a company from the ground up. Yeah, we have these corporate America jobs, and they're not interested in them at all, right? We both work from home. My son, he'll come in my office. He's like, are you at work? I say, yeah. He's like, you at like work? I'll say, yeah. He leaves, and he's now if I say I'm working on the Black Book Club, he's like, okay. And he'll come in there and he'll help me price books, because that's the only thing he's interested in. He's like, let's own some stuff, right? And the Black Wall Street game really just turned a light on to my 6-year-old. And it's amazing. Like he'll wake up at 11 o'clock, 11:15. He's like, when are we playing Black Wall Street? And I'm like, son, we haven't had breakfast. When are we playing Black Wall Street?
The game is breakfast.
Irrelevant.
The game is breakfast. And then he'll come in, he'll be playing, he'll come in my office and he'll have all these $100 bills. Look at that, Dad. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look at that.
Mm.
and I have 2 LLCs. And he's not just talking because he knows what he's talking about, right?
Mm.
He's like, if I get another barbershop, I can make it a corporation.
Mm.
And so now when he's 10, 12 years old, we can come back to that. And I can say, son, you could really own a barbershop. Like
Right.
that's a real goal of yours if you want it. Hey,
Right.
you can really own a newspaper. And he'll look back to that Black Wall Street because for the first couple of times he just wanted to beat his brother. But then he started to understand, okay, he gets a strategy, right? He's like, now I see his mind moving. He'll land somewhere and he'll say, do I want to buy that? And then he'll sit there for like 30 seconds and he'll like, well, I got this one, so I'm really trying to make it a corporation. This one's a different color, but I'll get it. And he'll get it, right? Hey, I'll leave it as an SP and I'll get this one, but I'll make this one an LLC over here. And like I said, he's only 6.
Mm.
And his brother's 11. His brother's like, his brother came on in the room. He's like, I figured it out, Dad. The schools, there's only 2 schools. You can make a corporation if you get those. And the schools pay out the best. So I'm just going to buy the schools every time.
Bad man right
and he's putting a whole strategy together, and it's not based on Mickey Mouse. It's not based on, all these different characters that don't look like him. He's making these plans together, talking about Booker T. Washington High School, right?
Mm.
So now I can show him, I can tell him who Booker T. Washington is.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, you know that name from the game. He's like, yeah. And so all the information it's a warm lead now because he's been exposed to it from the Black Wall Street game. And I can't tell you all how much I appreciate it because, all we were playing was Uno during the pandemic, right? And there's only so many ways you can draw 4 and change the color until you start to get annoyed. And so once we put that Black Wall Street game, I haven't heard my son say Uno since.
Mm.
He says, hey, let's get into the Black Wall Street right now. What color are you? What color are you? Here's your pieces. Here's the money. Let's go. Or I'll come out of my office from being off work and he's got the board set up. He's like, I was waiting for you. Come on. You're black, right? Because the Black Book Club, you black. So take that one. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. And he'll sit there, my sons, they'll sit there and they'll play all day long. They're starting selling business to each other. My 11-year-old, he's a little loan shark, but he'll cheat you. He'll be like, all right. Because if you owe some money, he'll say, you guys sell one of those businesses. And you're like, all right, how much you'll give me? And he'll give you half of what it's worth. And that's where he starts negotiating. So he's a little loan shark.
Oh yeah.
But and then he'll negotiate with you. Like, I'll give you 20. Okay, I'll give you 30. Okay. I'll give you $60 for the Booker T. Washington High School.
Dang.
But it has to stay an LLC. You're like, wow. Okay.
I thought about making that type of negotiation.
Right. The kids
right.
shop.
I'm getting hustled by my 11-year-old. And then he knocks all my the black squares off of my little piece. He slaps that off of there. Let me fix this up. Puts 2 more. He's like, and I want another one. So his financial literacy is so much advanced than mine was at his age.
Yeah.
At his age, I get $1, I spend $1 immediately, right? All I know is the candy lady. You give me $1, get $1 worth of candy from the candy lady, might get a pickle, and I'm good. Give my son $1, he's not spending his money, right? I gave him a $20 bill, and I was just watching him. I gave him $20 for his birthday. I said, you can spend on whatever you want to. And so we go into different stores, and he's just leaving. He's like, no, I don't want to buy that. I don't want to buy that. Before, he'll buy Beyblades, and that money's gone.
Beyblades.
But now he starts to understand the value of money, the value of $1, right? And a lot of it, of course, is from reinforcement from his parents, but the game is able to expand his mind so he can receive that information from his parents. Because if, I'm writing on a board, this is a deposit, this is a liability. It's like school to him. He's like, all right, I'll just remember the terms and I'll be all right. But now he can play it and everything is in motion, right? The information he's receiving, he can put into practice. And so the Black Wall Street game, I can say, has changed my 2 sons' lives and it changed me as a parent because I was struggling with how to teach them financial literacy. I'm like, well, one's 11, one's 6. But then I remember you saying, the time is now. Like, however old your child is, the time is now to do it. And I remember you saying that, and I was like, he trying to sell a game. But then I'm like, he makes sense, because the earlier you do it, the more familiar they are with it,
Right.
and the more comfortable they are with the information. So, I mean, we talk about it all the time. We talk about LLCs. We talk about, he asked his mom, he's like, is yours an LLC, Mom? No?
Not the
I mean, and, you know, it's just a 6-year-old saying, I'm like, hey, you know what I mean? Right. But he's asking these questions because he understands what he's talking about now. You know, in the Black Wall Street game, he'll tell you he's the champion, but he'll play that every day.
Man, that's, first of all, this is not a paid advertisement.
No,
I gotta say that every time someone comes on and gives an authentic story. Appreciate that, for real. Like, the cup is overflowing, because we talk about this all the time. That is literally the reaction that we're hoping to get. We're hoping that Black Wall Street is a lead into a lot of other things, and we're hoping that, kind of how people grow up, they playing basketball and they're like Kobe, and they grow up with these dreams of, you know, I'm gonna be in the NBA, I'm gonna be dunking on people. Cool, love that that's your dream. But I think the love of the game inspires that dream, right? So if you can create a game about financial literacy, about LLCs, now that love of this game, that love of trying to win, creates a whole different type of dream that they have a little bit more control over than the NBA. So, you know, hopefully both your sons become billionaire moguls, or billionaire moguls, the barbershops on top of barbershops and everything else that they want to own. But literally love it. Queen.
It made me think of Inception as that's one of my favorite movies. And you think about, because the whole premise is like, oh, they're trying to get down to this one pivotal moment that this guy makes this decision. I don't want to like ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but they're trying to get down to this one pivotal moment of like basically like this one moment changed this guy's life, and they're trying to go back and manipulate this moment. And it reminds me of like, this game can be that moment for so many kids, you know, in terms of when they do grow up to be entrepreneurs, when they do own their barbershops, when they do, you know, start to change their mind and widen their scope on what they can do. I think it's only a blessing to be able to be a part of that moment, to where that bulb turns off, you know, the bulb turns on, or that, you know, their mind starts to shift of like, oh, I could own a barbershop, I could do this, I could run a school, all of these things. Yeah. So that's really powerful.
And, you know, a lot of times, like, you know, we were raised in the, you know, you sell crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot times, where, you know, everybody would dream about going to the NBA, and there's nothing wrong with that. But 0.01% of people go to the NBA. So if our kids have no limit on dreams, right? So if they can have more dreams, where they hear about Madam C.J. Walker, and they hear about these Black billionaires and millionaires, Stephen Hill, and they can find out that that's something we can do as well. You know, we don't just have to play basketball or football or track or whatever, which we can do as well. But we need other dreams that speak to the mental.
Right.
In fact. So this has been dope, right? And I know we had some tech issues, so we can definitely do another one. But Queen, any kind of final questions you want to get from Brother Tyree, King of the Black Book Club? I know one takeaway I heard, and I'm gonna see if I'm allowed to do it. Is I want to build a public book club. I'm gonna get Javon to do the woodwork, because that's not my gift. But Javon can build.
These are books to go to other people. Yeah.
These are books to go to other people. I can put some of
He's
the books.
Got a problem. We didn't talk about that, but he's got a problem with the amount of books that he accumulates. So that's why I'm pushing him on. Yes, if these are books for other people, then yes, because we are already struggling to find shelf space for all of the books that this man collects.
That's a good problem to have.
It is.
I got books all on my floor.
Facts, literally.
And you know, we have to be appreciative.
Last questions you got?
No,
good. Okay, well, Brother Tyree, last wisdom. First off, where people can find you at the Black Book Club, one, but other places as well. Any projects you got going on, but your last bits of wisdom for the group, for the team.
Well, you know, I can be found. I'm active on Instagram, Black Book Club 1 on Instagram. Anybody can email me, blackbookclub1@gmail.com. Email me and ask me about what book you should read, right? I'll ask you some questions. We'll find a book that speaks directly to you. I've had a lot of either moms come to me and they have their son or daughter's interest. They tell me, and then I match them with a book. I've had wives tell me, what book what interest their husbands have. Husbands ask me about wife books, and I love giving personal recommendations of books. One thing I'll kind of leave everybody with is the mantra for Black Book Club is each one teach one is how we all win. And the reason for that is, if we all can get a little bit of information and we can share with one another, we build everything from that. We build the community from that. We build love and trust from that, right? Trust comes from sharing information. So if we can read and get the literacy rate where they need to be, you look at 75% of juvenile delinquents read at about a third grade level. So reading directly speaks to our realities, right? We can get those numbers up. We can really start to break through that glass ceiling, and we can see that nothing is impossible.
Yep.
There it is.
Love it.
Perfect way to end that one. So we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you tap in with the Black Book Club, build you a public library, or at least share some resources. We're gonna get into some weekly updates. I know you're at a birthday party, so I'm gonna let you go first, brother Tyree. Any weekly updates, any blessings that have sprinkled in this week that you want to share?
I know one really amazing update that we had is that one of the free public libraries we had placed, it burned down about a month ago, but we weren't able to get back out there. It's all the way out in Houston, and the people from the community actually got together and put it back up. They put it back together, and they just said, "Hey, just send us some more books, and we'll make it happen." So the fact that the community was able just to take ownership of the public library speaks to everything, and one of them said, "Hey, we'll find out how it burned down." Now, I'm not really interested in too many details of it, but then, hey, we'll figure out what happened. So what that speaks to me is somebody from the community didn't do that, right? So the community is taking it as their library, and somebody injured their library, somebody hurt their community. So they're putting it back together. And these aren't people that have, $200 to spare or $100 to spare in resources, but they see the value in it. So they're like, hey, we'll take it upon ourselves. We'll put it back together. Just send us some stuff to put in there. Yeah. And I mean, that really spoke to me a lot, because that gave me just life. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Maybe I should have had you go last, because I don't know if we got one like that, brother.
I really appreciate
you for coming through. Queen, your updates for the week. How you feeling? What's popping?
Feeling pretty good. I honestly don't have too many updates. I still have just a couple more free health coaching sessions available.
Oh, barely. Yeah.
By the time this comes out, I don't know, when is this coming out?
I mean, this is live right now.
Oh, so. True. If y'all listening live, you can go grab the couple last free spots on truehealthforever.com for the free health coaching. That I was all through the month of September. So yeah, excited about that. Got quite a few consults in, feeling pretty good.
Yep, I signed up.
Yes, you did. But yeah, just feeling pretty good about that. Just because you didn't get in the month of September doesn't mean you can't get in, right? It'll just be a little bit of a different strategy once we get into October. Right. But yeah, excited. And if you are interested at all, please go to the True Health Forever website. Again, go ahead and book your free session. After that, it'll be like a free consult that will kind of be an introduction to the program, so that you can just see if there's anything. I guarantee there is. But if there's anything that I can do to help you reach your health goals. So that's what I'm at right now.
Yeah, go to truehealthforever.com. It is right there on the landing page, free health coaches, and click it. Start playing with your life and get it together. Work with the health nurse. She got you. All right. For me, it's been a good week. I'm trying to think of. So, I mean, obviously, whenever I hear anyone talking about the board game, whenever I hear how the impact it's had on their kids, it warms my heart.
I'm sure.
It's just right here, right? So that was good to hear. What else went down this week? I don't know. It was a pretty chill week. Oh, book Rose and Rodney. If you So we wrote this book. It is now officially released on Amazon and is also on our web.
Oh, today, happy birthday.
Yes, it is also Walter Anthony Robinson's birthday, although he is no longer with us. We did dedicate this book to Brother Robinson. So yeah, which was a great mentor, really good role model, worked in education, and just the how he moved in education, the way that he always advocated for the Black community, but he wasn't necessarily always protesting. He wasn't necessarily like the quote unquote radical person you may think of, but when you learn about the things that he did, it's like, oh, you were looking out, looking out.
Right, right.
And I was able to. We both went to UC Davis. He worked in student affairs and enrollment, and I was able to really just get a lot of a lot of knowledge, a lot of nuggets. So he played a good role in my professional life. Went way too soon for sure, but wanted to have him be in this book as a legacy, as an homage to him. So boom, go ahead and get that book. Whether you knew Walter or didn't know Walter, you want to learn about the Greenwood, or you just want some good history for your kids to read. Rose and Rodney, Black History Adventures. Go ahead and get that. First of many. And if you also know, long-term goal is to be able to make a full feature film.
Mm.
So what we're going to do is, and I'm saying this on the podcast because the people who listen to the podcast, all 15 of y'all, I know y'all rock with us, right? So we're going to eventually turn Rose and Rodney into an animated series. And that's just going to get my foot into the door of filming, of producing, directing, and writing. So I'm very excited about what Rose and Rodney can do. Shout out to TJ Taylor, who did the painting behind us of O.W. Gurley and also did the artwork in the book. TJ, I appreciate you. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it rocking. Queen, you got anything else?
Nope.
Good to go?
That's all she wrote.
All she wrote. Jair, we appreciate all your work. You're doing a lot of stuff in the backgrounds, a lot of good transitions happening. Y'all see all the animations, all Jair in the background. Harry, we see you with the new countdown in the videos. We got a beautiful, amazing, hardworking team. And then Rajel's doing the show notes and the blogs afterwards. We got a good team. We're looking forward to keep on growing with y'all. Share the podcast with someone you love, someone you like, and share it with the enemy because maybe they can become a friend of me. All right. So, as usual, we appreciate y'all for tuning in to the True Health Forever podcast, where we try to live our best life through the lens of holistic health. I'm your host, Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd.
We hope y'all stay healthy. We hope y'all stay mentally wealthy. And of course, we hope y'all stay true.